So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Elevator World's webinar series, and thank you for joining us. I'm Brad O'Gwen. I'm the host and moderator. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at Elevator World. Today, we're going to talk about a new approach to safety, and specifically how your business can manage field and office safety operations using mobile and web platforms. I want to take just a minute to introduce the panelists that are here today. We have Adam Brahman, who is the owner of Helios ESG. This is the technology company behind making this solution work. We have Daniel Vernis, he's the head of products with Helios. And we also have Greg DeCola, who is the owner of Omega Consulting, and he is a certified OSHA trainer. Greg uses the Helios system with clients in the New York area, so he'll be able to answer some questions about training practice if needed. Just to give you a little background, Elevator World partnered with Helios back in 2013. Primarily the partnership really originated out from an idea to specifically bring toolbox talks or field safety meetings to the industry as a way to streamline processes and still keep safety as a priority. And it made sense because obviously EW publishes many safety products, and they were already working with clients in the industry specifically focused on inspections. So the partnership made sense. The software has since grown to include many additional modules that encompass safety in the industry. Just to let you know, if there are any questions at any point during this discussion, just post them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen or the chat section, and we'll answer them as soon as the main presentation has ended. So I'm going to turn this discussion over to Helios, Adam Brahman, who can walk you through kind of how this solution works.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank Elevator World for hosting this with us. I do want to say that, you know, as Brad mentioned, we've been partnered with Elevator World for quite a long time now, and working with them in various aspects of safety that we'll walk through in this presentation. The presentation will be a walkthrough of the concepts and the product itself and what it's capable of. And at the end, if you do, as Brad mentioned, have any questions, please let us know. And if you would like a full demo of anything, we can also set that up individually and take you through that using both ends of the platform, from the field side as well as the office management side. So please keep that in mind as we go through this. So to start off, we'd just like to tell you, as Brad said, that we're a full service product that was built from the ground up in the elevator industry after we noticed a significant need to build some better analytics and build a paperless environment, which seemed to have been creating a lot of inefficiency when it comes to managing things. So when we looked at safety, particularly through the safety seminar that was held a few years ago in Arizona, one of the big questions that came up was that it's great to have a safety program and safety policies in place, but how am I supposed to manage that efficiently and effectively? And really, the answer to that question is the system that we had developed and we continue to develop over the last 5 to 10 years. And really, its focus has grown beyond safety to inspections, to maintenance, and to other aspects. But I would like you to please keep in mind that this is a very scalable product. If we flip to the next slide, Daniel, we have some 4 key principles that we built this on. One was the ease of use, right? I think the biggest thing that we've seen in the industry when it comes to software is the mechanics struggle with how to use it due to complexities. Whether you are trying to shoehorn a program into a particular function that it's not designed to do, or there's too many clicks and typing involved that the mechanics get confused. So we've tried as much as we can to eliminate typing and make it where everybody can use it. And this has grown, I guess, for everybody, as some of the older people that only know how to use a flip phone have been retiring from the industry. but also the interface itself and keeping it simple has helped us greatly with where we've deployed this. It's scalable, which means that it's a modular system. So of the things that we're going to talk about today, you don't need to deploy everything. You can deploy one piece of the system, and then you can come back months later or weeks later and deploy other aspects of the system, and which reduces a learning curve. So once people know how to use certain things, adding additional functionality becomes a lot easier. So this was very important for us from the field side of things. The efficiency and the transparency that we mentioned here, that is always key in the back of our mind. Is this easier? Is this quicker than what you're currently doing? More importantly, on the paperwork aspects. So are you able to analyze the data efficiently without going through paper? Are you able to provide your clients reporting without creating specific reports? Transparency, well, the key item there, which ties very much into your safety training, is where do I need help? Where do I have risk? Where do I need to focus? Who needs something? So those are all very important aspects in safety as you move through safety and try and keep accidents, whether to your people or to the riding public, to a minimum. And we've tried to build metrics into our systems that focus you on that. And you'll see that through our visual dashboards and through some of the metrics that we do have in the system. So when speaking about this system, Dan, we can go to the next slide. When you're speaking about the system, everyone is always concerned about how will this change my company? So we've created the safety platform as a complementary platform. You went one page too ahead, Daniel. As a complementary safety platform to anything that you're currently using. So our concept is not to blow up the world. So we want you to be able to use the safety platform and continue to use any other system that you currently have installed, whether it's ours or a competitor's product or some other third-party product. So it's a cloud-based system, which means that it sits in a corporate cloud that is designed by Microsoft, that stores all of the data and does all of the processing, and it makes the actual application managed through a web page that is a secure web page with specific profile logins, depending on the people that work for you, where they can log in and only see their people. And it works from any type of web browser, an iPad, a PC, a Mac, a phone. For our mobile side, which is what all of the modules that we'll talk to you about work on, that's an actual mobile application, not a packaged web page, which means the application works without service, without signal, without Wi-Fi, once you have the proper information or tickets downloaded to the phone. Service is only required to upload and download tickets. So this makes, particularly in our industry, it a lot easier to use in spaces where you don't have any service, like a pit or a shaft or an shanty. Additionally, the final focus is our content. And we'll get into this in a little bit more in the future of the presentation, but the content is customizable. So everything is driven in this system based off of your exact requirements, whether they be the Elevator World Toolbox talks, whether they be your own safety meetings, your own particular audit, or any JHA or other form that you want to use. And they all use the same framework that we've designed, but they're allowed to be customizable to your specific content that you want to use, time frames you want them done, alerts and scores that you want to set. And we work with you to set that up when we do set up the system with you. So I mentioned that it was managed on the web. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see that managing on the web is more than just having results sent in and stored in a Dropbox file. we actually provide you analytics and we provide you dashboards where you can focus yourself on the top items and on the areas that you need to focus on. Who is overdue? Who failed something? Who didn't submit something? And then it can help you build a score. What is your safety score? What is your risk assessment of your guys? How many don't complete their policy items on time? How many fail them and refail them? So it really lets you understand where you need to focus. And this is great for someone like Greg as a safety trainer in the New York market. Greg uses the results from his clients and trains on those topics that are the lowest scoring topics when he does his OSHA training. So what this allows is that when you bring a group of guys into a room and you tell them that you're going to give them a training session, they may be on their phone, they may be paying attention, some of them may not be paying attention. But if you open up the conversation with 60% of you failed this topic or this subject or didn't do this report right, it creates some curiosity where they'll pay attention more. And that's really what we're looking for, is to provide you as the people within the company that don't necessarily deal on the day-to-day with these mechanics to identify where you need to focus them and where you need to train them. So all of this dashboard can be also send reminders. If they're late on doing something, you can resend content if it was failed or not filled out properly. And you can also create reporting off of this content. And we'll get into a little bit more of that at the end. For the day-to-day management of the system, in addition to these analytics and these dashboards, we have another page, which is we call the 10-second rule. Is that for every person that we logs into the system as a manager, within 10 seconds of looking at this one page, Daniel, you can flip over, you should understand where your gaps are. And we use this page throughout our system. So this page will show you the people that are on your system in the current time frame. In this case, it's 3 months. And by looking at these squares on the screen, it's very easy to tell who did not do something, which would be the empty white box, who was on leave or vacation, which would be gray. And then you have the colors. Blue means passed, red means failed, and the orange means failed, and the light orange means I've failed it, but have been resent the content to do it. So if you're responsible, if you have a supervisor that's responsible for 5 guys, or a department manager that's responsible for 30 guys, or you're a company manager, you can look at this at every level, from corporate to region to branch to department and then user. And that person very quickly can understand who they need to focus on. There's a ton of detail beneath each of these dots. We can give you a data sheet. We can give you the questions and the answers. We can give you their score, their profile, and you can even print documents if you need to provide those documents to certain sites for weekly or monthly safety records, which we're finding are more and more prevalent in the government space and in the construction space in large cities. So, and as I mentioned, this is a screen that's given to people to focus them only on the people you give them permission to see and their profile. Now, continuing with design, the next page, we talk a little bit about our phone app and what the phone looks like. So we talked about simplicity, right? We talked about making it easy for your users. And this is an example of a toolbox talk. So the way we've partnered with Elevator World is that each week, if you buy the Toolbox Talk module that we have, the mechanics are automatically sent a weekly Toolbox Talk to their phone. It is exactly as it is in the Elevator World Safety Handbook, including the pictures. And what we ask them to do is on the phone to read the talk by just clicking a ticket. It brings up the content, which they can pinch and zoom. It's available in both English and Spanish, and they can read the Toolbox Talk content. Now, one of the epiphanies that we had with Bob Caparelli many years ago was that it's great that they are reading this talk and they're submitting the talk and you have the records, but did they absorb it? Did they understand what they read? So instead of having these discussion points that are meant for guys to do them as a group and talk about the content, Elevator World has come up with questions that are yes/no questions that are attached to each week's content. Now, this is how we get the scoring done that you saw on the prior dashboard. So each week is given between 4 and 8 questions that the guys must answer about the topic they just read. When they answer the questions, they are then asked, we have 2 versions, they are then asked to either sign the talk or they're asked to affirm the talk. And the union nationally has accepted both, but depending on your region, which one they accept, we can explain to you. And then what they would do is submit their talk, and they actually see their score and their questions, and it uploads to the database and to the dashboard that we've showed you. So it's very simple to use. So far, we've deployed over 3,000 people in the US are using this Toolbox Talk over the last 10 years. And we've had very little issues as far as user acceptance after the initial training period. And it's all because of the simplicity of this. And everything is located within this same exact type of screen or screens within our interface. And we'll be talking a little bit about the other modules that are available, which work exactly the same way through here. So if we go to the next slide, we talk a little bit here about what's your safety IQ. So we talked about the fact that you can manage it on the web. We've talked about the fact that we're giving a tool set to the mechanic in the field, and we're then using those analytics from the tool set in the field to build what we call the safety IQ, which is something that you can use for your mechanics, for your departments, and even your company. So what this is a risk assessment. How well are my guys performing, and where are the areas of risk? Now, to do this, it can be with the one module of Toolbox Talks, or it can be a combination of the other modules that we have available in the system. These modules can be designed and used for various functionality, but you'll see here, we kind of consider them a dial which is all inclusive and creates a holistic view of how you're doing and what your risk is. If we go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit through what those are. So we have these safety meetings, which we just talked about. And again, they can be different pieces of content for different types of mechanics. We can provide different content for different industries. They can be the Elevator World content, or it can be your own. We have open item tracking. We have certifications. We have a bookstore, PPE, requests and audits, which I'll stop there for a second. So the PPE and audit section, that is the ability for you as a company to load a standard set of equipment and tools into our desktop, into our web-based system that then sends a ticket to each mechanic on a regular basis that you determine, that asks them, do you have this? Do you need this? And it would go back to our webpage where you can track and manage that process of getting them the equipment that they need, which ties into our open item tracking I have above it. They also can go into a My Inventory section, and they can request things on an ad hoc basis. Their glasses drop down the shaft. I can go and say I need glasses, and someone in the office can prepare those glasses or send those glasses to them to be picked up. We have hazard tracking. So this is very much an I Spy method, or it is a form. So you can have people report hazardous conditions and take pictures of hazardous conditions. And we can then submit a PDF to a client to show them I am not working on this particular piece of equipment because they're welding above me, as an example. We have check-in and check-out. This is something that has been very beneficial during this time that we're in now with COVID. Our check-in and check-out procedures work for tickets as well as the beginning and the end of the day. So a mechanic will be asked in the morning to check in, and we've utilized our same questions as the toolbox talk with the check-in, which can be changed. The mechanic must answer any number of questions that you set up, such as, are you safe? Have you been sick? Have you been in contact with anyone with COVID? And they can check in the morning. There's a dashboard to manage that, and they get reminders if they don't check in on time. We also have check out, which particularly I like, for the ability to say at the end of the day, are you going home safe? Meaning you're not stuck in a pit or locked somewhere, or God forbid had an accident. And also, have you removed all of your jumpers? It's just a reminder, but it's something that can prevent an accident. And that also gets tracked through a dashboard. We have a jumper log that can be used, and it could also have some reminder features for jumpers that have been left on. And we have training audits. So this ties into Greg and other safety trainers programs. So you can actually set up supervisors with our app, and they can perform on their phone tests of processes for that you have within your company, such as lockout, tagout, and confined space. Basically, the 9 principles I think are important, where they grade each mechanic over a certain period of time on how well they know particular functionality and processes, which they can then be followed up with and trained on, or it can be trained at a group session with someone like Greg. One of the ones I skipped over was the certification and training tracking. We have a virtual wallet in the phone where we can keep any and all ID cards and certificates, and they can be managed on the web for accumulated hours towards something like an OSHA 10, and also know when something is coming up for renewal. The updated certificates can be maintained on the web and on the phone, and they're shared between the two of them. So one of the early things that Greg said to me a few years ago was that in today's day and time, someone will leave their wallet home before they leave their phone home. So this is a great way to make sure that if they ever get challenged for something, that they have a copy of it with them. Now, in addition to all of this, we also have a forms section where if you do have a specific form that you want filled out, we can put that on the phone, and all of our forms and the ability to have forms come with the ability to automatically link pictures within the app to that form, whether it's a job site survey, a hazardous condition, a JHA, anything that you would have them do a form on. And back to the audits. The audits can also be used on vehicles, job sites, or anything really where you maintain equipment. So you can have a monthly or quarterly vehicle audit for the safety of the vehicle, as well as for the stock that is within that vehicle. So there's a lot to choose from. We try not to standardize too much other than the functionality, because we want it to meet your specs. We don't want your mechanic to assume that a question that is placed in front of them is not something they need to do. So we can be assured that the list given to a construction mechanic for an audit is different than the route mechanic, and he should not assume that any item listed doesn't apply to them. And that's very important, is that the interface and simplicity and making sure there's accuracy through profiles are very easy ways to ensure that they follow it and pay attention properly and don't skip over something. The same holds true with how we handle our inspections on the phone as well. So when you break, if you skip to the next slide, when you break all of this out, you'll see that the system from these modules, Daniel, you can go to the next slide. The system from all of these modules is broken into really three sections. What maintains our company compliance? What are the policies and procedures that we have in place that we need to make sure that everyone has when they come work for the company, and they maintain them as they work for the company? What are the certificates they need? What is the equipment have they been issued? What processes have they been trained on? And what licenses do they need to perform their task, right? Then there is the ongoing safety, right? Quarterly, annual, monthly, weekly things that need to happen that are automatically sent to the field or the supers that need to be followed up on. So there's no more distribution of paperwork. There's no more, did this go out? You can check reminders, and you can check, you can send reminders, and you can check for failed items. And then you have your routine safety, which is the final bit, which is getting the guys in the field to do safety as part of their everyday task. So it's the integration of safety into their business as usual job. That's doing assessments, filling out jumper logs, and then even accessing our library. Now, this is something I skipped over in the last section. We'll talk about in a second, which ties very much to Elevator World. But that's basically the way that we've broken this out. And you can choose any of these modules. You don't need to pick everything. We recommend people start with the toolbox talk because it is simple. But when you get to the next page, it's, as I mentioned, it's all customizable. So we'll work with you to define all of the things that you want. Daniel, if you can go to the next page. All of the things that you want. So what's your standard PPE items? We can load those for you. We can load your certificates, load your policies. We can create with you your checklists. We can set the scoring and the due dates with you. So is 60% failing? Is 90% failing? Do they have to do it weekly, monthly? Is there a JHA that needs to be done on a daily basis? Is it 2 a day? Is it 1 per ticket? So all of that is up to you as your company and how deep you want to go into the system. And it's all customizable in that regard, which brings us to the content. As I mentioned, we're partnered with Elevator World for the Toolbox Talk and their content, and you can choose other content. We can supplement the content. We can fill in for Toolbox Talk, near miss stories. We can fill in other bulletin type things. But we do also have a way in the system. There's a bulletin and messages section. So if you do have a bulletin of a process change, of a near miss, of a safety notification that you want to send to your mechanics, they can be created by you and sent in our web system, and can be sent to the mechanic on their phone. And they can be sent to certain groups. So if there's a welding update, you may want to send only that to construction and mod and not to service. If there's a truck update, only to your truck drivers. And once they read the message, it stores in our content library. Now this is great because they no longer have to go look for emails of where something was stored. They can reference it there. So in addition to these kind of things and the toolbox talks, Elevator World, which I'll let Brad speak to for a minute or two, has partnered with us to include their other books within the system. So you want to speak to that for a minute, Brad?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually something new that was added to the app. How long have we been doing this now? Maybe a month or two. So basically any book that Elevator World publishes can be activated in the app as a digital product, not just safety books or safety manuals, It could be maintenance manuals, inspection handbooks, installation, even engineering if you want it. We can put any of those books in there. And it is a true digital product. It has all the features that any digital book would have, such as notation, search, highlighting, jump to various chapters and sections. And the book is licensed to the individual phone of the technician who's using it. The safety, just as a safety app, is transferable to a mechanic. So is the book. But if you add a mechanic, obviously an additional book would need to be purchased. They're all purchased through us, just like you would any other book. And then Helios activates them on the phone for each technician that's using them. So that's the basics of the book library. That's a good added benefit to field technicians that are using it. Easy access to this other material.
Daniel was bringing the screen up to show you. No, we see Daniel, just the corner. You had it there it is. So this is the way the book section would look on the phone. You would click the handbook. It takes you to the book or any of the other books that are available. They will be turned on based off of the number of books you buy, which you buy directly from Elevator World, not from us. And you can highlight it, you can note it, you can even reference it in some of our tickets that we have in the system.
And Adam, we're getting some questions in here, so we might want to.
Okay, we can
address some questions.
Before I get to the end, let's go. We'll go through the question. Well, actually, I only have. Let me go through two more things, and then we'll talk about the questions. I want to finish with the phone. Okay. So, as Daniel's showing you the phone, as I mentioned, it works on any device. It's a simple download to download the phone to the device. The devices are set up so that they are unique per user. Once you log in once, unless you drop the phone, delete the app, lose the phone, you don't need to log in again. But a key feature here is that if you have mechanics and helpers that work together, we have tons of companies that are using these on private phones, meaning personal phones, and on phones that are owned by the company. And we also have a mix, which means that the company may issue a phone to the mechanic, but not the helper. So we have a functionality in this system where the helper can open his profile on a mechanic's phone and have access to all of the necessary documentation, certifications, testing that he may need to do, and book library from another person's phone. So even if you left your phone at home, you can still use somebody else's phone, or if you don't have a phone, you can access your stuff on their phone. So Dan, you can go back to the presentation now. So as I mentioned also, while we're talking about the phone, everything is sent automatically. We don't need service to work. You do have to upload only because we're showing you the results. And we do that also to save your battery. There is GPS available on the phone. So something like the check-in process, we can track your GPS. It is pretty much bulletproof. We worked with a couple of companies in New York on identifying all of the ways that the mechanics try and trick GPS. And we do send reminders and notifications for those that have turned off GPS, gone outside their area they're supposed to be, and have checked in late. And that's basically the phone. As like I said, it works on any device that is at least 5 years, built within the last 5 years. And it's fairly simple in that regard. I got 2 more pages to do, but I'll stop and take some questions, I guess.
Yeah, let's take a couple of those, and that may bring out some more questions.
Okay.
I answered this one, but it is a good question. If an employee leaves, can the product be transferred to a replacement employee? And the answer is yes. You only pay for another license for the app if you add employees, additional employees.
Yeah, so everything is based off of the high watermark, either for that monthly or annual contract that you've signed up for. So if you're billed monthly, you pay for the number of people active that month. If you're paying annually and you add somebody above and beyond, you pay a prorated amount. If you add somebody and have a license available, you can just use that license. Keep in mind, as I mentioned, it's a web platform. So Helios is paying for the storage, is paying for the processing, the hosting, the support, and Elevator World's book. So our rates are based off of that. If you are a large organization, we can talk to you about putting this within your own infrastructure, but we did it this way to keep costs down. This is not an expensive product. As I mentioned, it's modular. You only pay for the modules you use. And we would work with you on some of the ones outside of Toolbox Talk and check-in that have set uses on how much consumption you will have, and then base your pricing off of that for those modules. In that regard, you're looking at, for the entire system, under $10 a guy a month, if you bought everything, or somewhere in that range, if you bought everything. The Toolbox Talks start at $75 a mechanic a year, and that is, like we've said, transferable. There is a setup fee to set up your cloud, but that is where the pricing starts, and it's not. Helios is in the industry for a number of things. I'm a third generation elevator person. I'm looking to make sure people are safe, more so than I'm looking to make money off of safety. And I know it sounds like a line, but I do believe that everyone in my family has been safe that's worked in the industry, and I'm looking to make sure that everyone is safe and gets the training that they need. So that's where we are. I'll take another one, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll let you handle this one. Job site process assessment content, is that provided by Helios or the elevator company?
So job site assessment, we do have the basic job site assessment form. We do so as I mentioned, is that we have the ability for you to fill out a form and you to type into a form that is a generic form that you can get from Elevator World. As long as it's not copywritten, we can use another form. If you have your own form, we can use that form. My opinion on all of this is that I want to limit typing as much as possible. So, which makes it more attractive to the end user. So in cases of something like the JHA, we will work with you and give you a template to fill in some potential drop downs. And so in the case of a JHA, we will work with you to define your processes of how you do things, which we can modify something you have or use what you have. And then we work with you to make sure that the mechanics are typing in as little as possible and just selecting from drop downs the answers that you want. Keeping in mind that the pictures can be associated with any specific item. So I'll use a hazardous condition as a example, is that if there is no light in the pit, right? Or if there is someone working above you, you would fill out the form with the questions that you provided or that are part of that. And you would take a picture within the app. And now you don't have to go and hunt for which picture is which pit on my phone that I'm going to send in with this detail. When you fill out the form, you click the camera button, it takes the pictures, and it automatically creates a PDF form with those pictures. So it is much quicker, easier for the guy in the field, and there's no one left in the office to figure something out. So hazards, for example, you take a picture of guys working above you, welding, it goes into the office, you get alerted that it's there, you just basically forward that to your contractor or building owner. You don't need to build anything. We can put your company logos on things so it looks like it's coming from you directly, and you made it. We can make things your colors, and that's all free as part of buying the package for the system.
Okay.
So Daniel, if you go to the next page, you'll see one of our reports. So these are kind of the reports, some of the report. This is an internal report. So this is something that you would use internally to share with your management teams to talk about lowest scoring weeks and your acceptance rate within the company. But we can build the same thing or have the same thing for any job related forms.
There's a question, Adam, about are all of the modules that we have in English and Spanish, or just the toolbox talks?
We can put anything that you would like, other than some of the basic functionalities, which all have icon buttons anyway in the application itself. Anything can be in Spanish. We've actually even been asked for it in Russian. So we can, if you can provide us that language, or if we can Google translate it and you can have somebody, confirm it. We can do it in almost any language. Polish, I think, is something else we've been asked for. So something I didn't go over is we are a global company. I am based in the Northeast between New York and Vermont, or New York City and Vermont, and Daniel is based out of London. So we do have development teams throughout Europe and in the US as well. So we are a global based company. We're selling all over the world with this product. So we're happy to work with you on other languages.
All right, there was a question from Kevin. Have there been any cases where a field technician has taken advantage of the digital books to look up issues or challenges they have? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, so
Go ahead.
when we've been, and particularly in the consultant space or in the testing space, the books have been very useful in them looking up code. And in the toolbox talk case, the users do have the ability, before they answer the questions, to go back to the content and to read the content again before they get the answer wrong. So the way that works is that in anything that you send them that is a test, we grade your safety IQ based off of their first score. So if they scored 60 and you resend it to them and they score 100, great, they passed it, they understood it. But your safety IQ is built off of the first score for the long-term metrics. So you can understand where people were having problems and train on those aspects. But all of the books are accessible throughout whatever you're doing. If you leave one page and go to another, you can go back to where you can pick up where you left off. There is, as Brad mentioned, these are all copywritten, so there isn't any way to print them. There isn't any way to share them, but you, as a company, if you buy a particular book that someone needs today and someone needs it tomorrow, you can change the ownership of that book from one person to another. So if you have a helper that needs a certain book and then he becomes a mechanic, you can reuse that book for the next helper that comes in.
Adam, we've got just a few more minutes here. Somebody was asking about sending. Will you be able to send this out to people? The deck you're showing, your presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can send something out. We will be sending something out, and then we would be happy to do a personal demo for anybody of the whole entire system in the workflow. So we can do a demo. I didn't really want to go through too much detail here. We can do a demo for you, take you through the phone app, take you through the web app, take you through our desktop, whatever it is that you're looking to see. I'd be happy to do that. It takes 15 minutes to do it, and then obviously questions and comments and things like that afterwards. I will tell you that to install the application, all we need is a 7-column spreadsheet of names, addresses, or names, email addresses, and phone numbers and departments. And on average, clients up to 500 users can be set up within a week. Anything more than that, we would probably want to stagger anyway. We've done this remotely for the majority of our clients in the last year. Well, all of them really in the last year. And the ones before that, we've been able to do remote, where we show one person how to do it, or a supervisor how to do it, and they show their mechanics. If you do have what's called an MDM, which controls the software on your mechanics' phones, it's even easier. We have all types of instruction manuals that we can use, and we do provide 24-hour support for mechanics to cover all of the time zones. In case they have a problem, they can email us or they can call us directly.
One final question here. It's really 3 questions, but I think they all encompass kind of the same thing. Is this platform adaptable to European codes and practices, UK health and safety legislation requirements, or other areas?
Yes. So The platform is designed simply as that, as a platform. It is a way for you to apply the policies and requirements of your particular jurisdiction or country or even industry to the system. So while this has been designed, and what we've talked about is US elevators or North American elevators, is that this can very easily be used for plumbing, HVAC, for electrical, or for other European bodies. And we have spoken with a couple of people in the UK and in Europe in general about this. We've even been to Augsburg a couple of times, and we presented with Elevator World to the European market. So yes, if you do need something specific, we'd be happy to work with you. And it's not customization, it's just setting the right controls for your environment.
That's great. This is good presentation. I think, Greg, I don't know if you had anything to say to add before we close. We didn't really give you an opportunity.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I was going to, I know it looked like someone's asking a question about permits. If you're talking about permitted confined space, sometimes that comes up through the elevator pit. And if you do come up with a confined space protocol, you will be able to add that into the system here.
And for everyone that's on the call, Greg is a certified OSHA trainer. If you do need to speak to someone around safety training or consult with someone on safety training, he's your guy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just
worked with him at a lot of different sites nationwide, so he's somebody that can help you.
Yeah, I just saw that question because that comes up a lot in the training classes, especially about the pit. Because pits are that gray area of confined space when you get into OSHA. So sometimes some facilities do want that permit for the pit. So if that's the permit which you're talking about, then yes, once you make that custom permit for that job site, you can store that, and you can even have the ability to have the office staff like loaded per person. So if you know that only the mod guys are going there, then the mod people, you can load it onto them. So that's what's nice about the app. There's a lot of different customization tools, I guess, you can use with it. So other than that, everyone else has any other questions, please let me know.
Yeah, we'll work with your safety trainer if you have one, or your safety director, to make sure that it meets the requirements that you need. And we can even so Greg has access, because the client asked for it, has access to certain clients' web pages so that he can look at their data and plan accordingly. Additionally, we've been doing a benchmarking study where if you choose to participate, we can look at the results across multiple companies without mentioning any company names to identify where the content needs to be improved. And we're hoping to work with Elevator World and our clients on building some additional supplemental content around near-miss stuff.
All right. Great presentation, Adam, and thanks for joining, Greg, and everybody else that's on the call. You'll get an email. It'll have my email address, brad@elevatorworld.com, if you want this presentation, or we are also recording it as well. So I want to thank everyone for attending, and have a great day.
Yeah, please email us and Brad, and then we can get right back to you at your convenience and set something up.
Right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.